Hi, we're looking at the assessment processes for effective health and social learning outcome 2 today. So learning outcome 2 is understand how to contribute to assessments, and there are 3 criteria here. Is explain how to use person-centered ways of working to support individuals to participate in the assessment process. 2.2 is explain how to undertake an assessment. And then 2.3 is explain when to use the referral process for individuals. So we'll make a start on there. So we're just going to look at an overview of what the person-centered approach is. So person-centered approach actually refers to something called personalization. And this is the process with which people who have long-term illnesses or conditions will get support that is tailored to their own selves, to their own individual needs, and based upon what their own wishes are. So long-term illnesses don't necessarily have to be a big dangerous thing. It could be something like asthma or diabetes, something that requires care long-term. So there was a paper called Putting People First, which was developed in 2007. And on this paper, the government has actually outlined its vision to improve adult social care. And they're going to adopt a personalization agenda, therefore the person-centered approach. So at the core of this personalization, it actually centers on the notion that support and services should be designed with the involvement of those who require them and tailored to their. So in other words, the service user, the person who in question that is getting the services, they're actually saying what happens. So this person-centered approach is actually a move away from that fits-all approach that used to exist, where you and then somebody with diabetes would get the same type of medication services, someone with of medication, and it wasn't really looking at this of it. It's just there to improve quality of life, our residents, and promote positive well-being. So on to 2.1, which is working to support individuals to pay in the assessment. To support the assessment process, and we're going to go through a few of those. You have actually care in their own support also, so that rather than being a passive recipient and just being told this is the medication you're doing, this is how much, and so and actually being very active in their own care. Then we have person-centered values. Now these are a set of values. These values are individuality, rights, choice, privacy, independence, dignity. Now, these set of values are firmly based in citizenship and inclusion, and they actually has the right choice, control in own lives. Then you've got which is EP for short. Now, this is course actually like a 6-week short course, and for anybody who has a condition. So things chronic fatigue, COPD, heart disease, asthma, HIV, chronic back, so multiple things. Now, this course is actually being created to and designed to help patients to actually cope with their health conditions, to find solutions to common problems, and for them to feel more in control. So really to give them a good set of ideas and a starting point of where they can go in well educated and be able to manage their own health conditions in as way as possible. Then you've got encouraging the client voice. Now, the patient itself can be in favor of the service improvement. Now, when you're engaging patients and capturing their what the services are like, what sort of different things that they've actually seen, because they're the first port of call, every different experience, you can actually get a big range of views and actually look at what sort of issues are, coming up over and over again. What are the familiar challenges and what can we do to actually try and fix those? So having a patient voice there and actually getting their feedback is quite a strong thing. The patient voice, or the client voice as we can say, it also enables to help you to get an objective understanding of the service, of the strengths and weaknesses like we mentioned, and also the impact on the patients. Is a whole patients, is it diverse, is it inclusive? What are the issues that are underlying within this? Then requirements. Now, under the patient-centered approach, advocates. Now, this will ensure advocates appropriate to the client's needs or expressed wishes. Now, an advocate will be appointed. Say the client or the service user does not have the capacity to instruct for themselves. So an advocate could be a family appointed member, like say a mother or a father if the patient is quite young, because obviously they're not going to be able to understand at a certain age, if they're a 5 or 6 year old, what is happening to them or what the best course of treatment are. So the parent or a caregiver will be an advocate for them as well. You can also have advocates appointed through services as well. If there's an issue, say, with the Mental Capacity Act, if the patient maybe has a severe form of autism or they're not capable of advocating for themselves, or you think that they might suffer harm if a family member advocates for them and doesn't give the right choices. So an advocate is there to instruct in the best medical way possible for their service user. So they're normally a third party and they just take instructions. Then you've got translators or interpreter. So you've got to make sure that there's an translator or an interpreter available so that clear communication can happen between service users. That Punjab was not the processes. A GP, you might make a referral to a social services, you might refer to school or college, you might want to refer services up to the local A&E department and so on. Then you've got the importance of language that is used in assessment. So avoid jargon. Make sure you adapt your language into. Now, if you were talking to a small student, talking to would speak to them, would I don't know they and with need to clarify your patients other haven't remember your role. Got them con this where you would be just for or it can be your center or between different organizations. Now this multidisciplinary partnership working actually relates to safeguarding, resettlement, community integration, criminal justice, migration, asylum, education, health, housing, so many different factors. You need to make sure that there's also a couple of person-centered ways that you're empowering your clients and that you're discriminatory practice. So that was how to use person of working to support individuals to participate in assessment processes, so 2.1. On to 2.2, which is explain how to undertake an assessment. So we're just going to look at how to conduct an appropriate and proportionate. So when you're looking at a person-centered approach, that the individual is at the center and that they're actually an expert. So the whole is to take into account the person's wishes, preferences, and desired outcomes. You're there to promote their well-being and also to identify, what their needs are. Together with, you're going to be working with their families, with the people that they've advocated for themselves. You're going to look at who's going to supporting them and, what is the best way for them to care and support each other and also reach those desired outcomes. Then you have the CARE Act guidance, and this includes of how assessments can be conducted. Now, each of these formats of assessment may be appropriate circumstances, and assessments can be conducted through any one of these approaches. So what we're going to look at, CARE Act guidance has said are examples of how assessments can be conducted. So you can have a face-to-face assessment. Now this is between the person and the assessor, and it's just where they're communicating each other, they're talking to each other. There might be other people that are present, other professionals, but they're just physically sitting face-to-face and carrying out the assessment. You've got a supported self-assessment. So this is where the individual will complete the assessment themselves, and then the local authority will assure itself that it is an accurate reflection of the individual's need. So the person is actually just carrying it out themselves. Now, this format, for example, might be appropriate if the individual has the capacity and ability and the personal resources and awareness of the situation, or if they can be supported to have it so that they can lead in the process. So in other words, a self-assessment is good for a person that has the capacity to be able to understand what is going on and actually have the resources to be able to carry out that assessment, or for them to be supported by a family member or somebody trusted to carry out that assessment. And then the local authority will take it on face value and say, yes, this is what they've said, we're going to go off that. Then you can have an online or a phone assessment. Now, this format is good if there's no other communication needs that need to be done. So, as long as the needs are not complex and the individual is capable and they're able to express themselves over the phone, or if they have the access and the knowledge and the ability to do an online assessment and they feel comfortable doing it. So as long as they feel comfortable doing it and they've got the capability to do an online or a phone assessment, that can be used as well. Then you can have a combined assessment. This is where an adult assessment is combined with the carer's assessment and or an assessment relating to a child. So two assessments being carried out once in a way. So a family assessment. So it's important that you recognize that there are young children involved in this. So you've got to make sure that this assessment is conducted in a way that is appropriate and that there's a qualified assessor who is appropriately qualified to do so. Then you can have a joint assessment. This is where relevant agencies will work together and they'll actually be there to make sure that that one person who might need multiple assessments doesn't have to have multiple assessments. They can just have the one assessment and have everything looked at all in once. So this is appropriate across social work and occupational therapist assessments, or for children and adult services, for housing, work, and all of those. Now, the central question that is asked here is the practitioner best placed to carry out the assessment another organization that can do it on their behalf? Or, so the person that's actually going to carry out the assessment, do they have enough knowledge to do a joint assessment that will work and look at all their needs? Or do they need another, say, a third-party assessor going in who has better knowledge and is able to conduct it in a better way? So, where the individual might experience substantial difficulty in independently engaging in the process, sometimes the local authority will involve someone who can help as early as possible. Now, this person can be a family member or a friend, but if neither of them are available or if neither of them are appropriate, the local authority must appoint an independent advocate. Now, there are 4 areas of substantial difficulty as is defined in the Act, and these are understanding relevant information, retaining information, using or weighing the information of part of engaging, and communicating views, wishes, and feelings. So under this, if these 4 criteria are fulfilled and there isn't an appropriate family member or friend that can act as an advocate or can actually help them with the process, somebody will be appointed or an independent advocate would be appointed. So that was 2.2, which was explain how to undertake an assessment. Let's go on to 2.3. So this is explain when to use the referral process for individuals. So what is referral in healthcare? So in the Act of Medical Practice, referral is a transfer of a patient's care from one physician or clinician or service to another. It's just when you're referring your patient onto another service or into another person, like a doctor or a nurse. So it involves one physician recognizing that a patient under their care needs some expertise or skills that can be found in another physician or service. So, for example, if there's a patient that's come into the GP surgery for the doctor and they're saying, we've got an issue with my eyes, I can't, they're completely blurry, I can't do this, that, or the other, they might refer them to the opticians or vice versa and so on. So referrals are made when a service user requires the care of another service or practitioner, and when this service is better suited for their particular needs. So referrals can be made, and referrals are needs-led. They can accommodate individual preference. They can have practitioner involvement, and in areas of particular expertise, so if there's a need for a different service, they'll be referred on to, say, a podiatrist, to the mental health counsellors, a counsel service, end-of-life care, dementia, diabetes care, anything like that, really. So that was 2.3, where we just looked at when to use the referral process for individuals. So today we've looked at how to use person-centered ways of working to support individuals to participate in the assessment process, how to undertake an assessment, and when to use the referral process for individuals.